This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Mannarino.
Hey everybody, welcome to PIX on Politics Daily. It is Wednesday, December 10th, and hopefully everybody's having a great day. I'm Dan Mannarino. So as we've been doing since the election day in November, we've kind of been following what's been going on, not only in local politics, but nationally as well. And today there was a bit of a shakeup in one of the races for Congress here in New York City. Comptroller Brad Lander announcing that he is, in fact, going to challenge Congressman Dan Goldman. He came on the morning news this morning, talked about why he is going to run. But ironically, we had Congressman Dan Goldman booked for this very podcast to discuss one of his acts that he wants to put through. It's called the ROBINHOOD Act. So let me bring in Congressman Goldman to the conversation right now. Congressman, good to see you.
Good to see you, Dan.
So obviously the news of the day is the Lander announcement, but because I am somebody who is true to my word and fair, I will talk about the ROBINHOOD Act first, because that is why we invited you on. And so let me talk about this first and foremost, because it is something that could be zeroing in on the affordability agenda, right? A new bill you're putting forth is to close this tax loophole by imposing a 20% tax on loans and lines of credit backed by capital assets. Can you explain that in layman's terms and what it means to an everyday New Yorker?
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at how billionaires avoid paying taxes, what they are doing is borrowing money tax-free against their stock or against their assets. So Elon Musk pays a 3% effective tax rate. Jeff Bezos pays a 1% effective tax rate. And these are the wealthiest people in the world. And the way that they are able to do that is to borrow against it. Their stock continues to grow. When they die, they can give it over to their children or their heirs, and they get a stepped up basis. So what that basically means is that they are not paying tax while their money is growing. And so what this bill does is it simply taxes those loans so they cannot avoid paying capital gains tax, which they would do if they sold their stock. And it will generate almost $300 billion at least over 10 years, which will pay and can pay for universal child care, something I've supported from day one when I helped co-found the Dad's Caucus in Congress. And so it's a huge revenue generator that can make life a lot more affordable for New Yorkers and Americans.
Yeah, so this is so in short, it's taxing a specific tax bracket. So we're zeroing in on wealthy folks, right? And you yourself would be affected by this, right? Like this would be something that you would have to pay.
Yes, I would. And this is really targeted at making, the super wealthy billionaires pay their fair share. It's something we talk about a lot. And there are a lot of different ideas for taxing the wealthy. And there's absolutely no question that wealth inequality has become a massive, massive problem, and that people are unable to access the American dream. And part of that is because if you have wages, if you pay your taxes every couple of weeks, you are paying full tax rate. And if you have assets, you aren't. And so this targets that exact thing to make the billionaires pay their fair share so that we can pay for the necessary programs that will give those who are structurally barred from the American dream access to success and opportunity.
So obviously, Congressman, Republicans hold the power right now. And they're not necessarily for taxing the wealthy. So how do you kind of see this moving forward and getting this approved if Democrats don't have the majority?
I think this is really going to change the conversation, because we're not talking about unrealized gains. We're not talking about a wealth tax, which is very hard to measure. We are talking about a tangible, specific line item that can be taxed and can generate a tremendous amount of revenue. So no, obviously the Trump administration is in the pocket of billionaires. They have no interest in taxing them. In fact, their big ugly bill cut taxes on them in order to cut healthcare and food stamps and basic safety net programs for the rest of Americans. But as we move forward and when we take over the House next year, this is going to be part of the conversation. And in fact, I had one Republican say to me on the House floor yesterday that he actually really likes the idea. And so I think this is going to generate some momentum as a way of making the super wealthy pay their fair share and helping out out those who are feeling correctly like they are not allowed, not afforded that opportunity that this country should provide.
How do you, if it does pass, right? How quickly could it become a reality? How quickly are you getting that money?
Well, it would. My guess is that we're looking into, we'll have to look into the next Congress, and we're going to build momentum for it. We have a tremendous number of endorsers already from all of the good government tax organizations, and so we're going to build momentum. We're going to gain sponsors. It's going to be part of the conversation. And I think when there's a bipartisan bill that will have to happen when we're in the majority, that this will be a big part of the conversation.
And then how do you, for a New Yorker who's listening to say, okay, well, that sounds good. We'll get some of this money for some of the things that we need to make New York City more affordable, right? How do you know that the money that comes out of that would be allocated specifically for New York? Or are you talking kind of nationwide?
Well, this is a nationwide tax, which is where the best way to target the billionaires, because it is equally applied across the country. Here in New York, where we have higher tax rates than most states, we cannot afford to lose more taxpayers. We have to grow our tax base, build our revenue streams so that we have more money to put into public education, to put into healthcare, to put into food security, and especially to put into housing. So this is the right way of taxing the super wealthy. And then what we need to do is make sure that it is being used on really effective and thoughtful programs. And the one that continues to jump out to me that I know many in New York feel and support is universal childcare, which would be revolutionary for families, for children, and would benefit the economy.
All of this coming at a very interesting time, right? Because the affordability is, of course, what Zohran Mamdani won his election on, and what we're seeing play out around the country is the big topic of affordability. And today, Comptroller Brad Lander said that he is going to run for Congress and challenge you. So first and foremost, before we get into some specifics, let me get your take and your reaction to the fact that you now have a challenger in Brad Lander.
I welcome Brad to the race. I'm not really thinking about this right now. I'm in Washington, really focused on making sure that healthcare will not be taken away from millions of people. We are focused on the immigration dragnet that Donald Trump is sweeping the country with, and that is disappearing people who are lawfully applying for immigration status in this country, taking them out of courthouses, taking them off the streets away from their families. So I'm really laser focused on the work we're doing right now, and politics will have to wait till 2026.
Okay. I mean, that is something that Lander's also running on, right? The fact of immigration, he was arrested and he's facing a lawsuit right now. I get it. But I spoke to him this morning about his video, which had some veiled threats that were thrown your way. And I know you want to focus on politics right now overall and the affordability crisis, but I wanted to get your reaction to something he said earlier. So take a listen to it. In the launch video, you said that the mayor-elect can have an ally in Washington instead of an adversary in his own backyard. So why do you believe at this point in time that Mr. Goldman would be an adversary to the mayor-elect and not an ally in D.C.?
Yeah, I mean, look, the primary was the time for Democrats to debate who was going to be the nominee. I ran and then cross-endorsed Zohran. But in the general election, I thought all Democratic leaders should support our nominee for mayor over somebody who's a sexual harasser. And yeah, that's the kind of energy we need right now. We can't solve all our problems in New York City alone. We need fighters in Washington who will work together with the mayor to deliver that city that everyone can afford and to stand up to what the president is doing.
So you heard him right there. He comes after you for the fact that you didn't support Zohran Mamdani, right? Do you regret that? Did that put a target on your back?
Look, I made my feelings clear about why I did not endorse Zohran. I did not endorse anyone. I stayed out of the race. But it was never about his affordability agenda, which I support and have always supported. I worked with Zohran actually on a pilot program for the free bus fares. I have, as I mentioned earlier, been a huge supporter of universal childcare long before this mayoral race, and strongly believe believe that that is a necessary future. I have been working on the front lines here in Washington to address that affordability agenda, and I have spoken with Zoran several times since the election, offered to work with him, eager to work with him, specifically mentioned he and I discussed the Department of Community Safety. As a former prosecutor, I want to support that idea because I think we need much more mental health treatment. I have two bills that I've introduced that would provide mental health treatment to Medicaid recipients, which is really almost unavailable right now. And that's the kind of thinking that I want to work with him on to make our public safer and more just. And so I'm eager to work with him, and we've discussed it, and I will certainly be doing that in Washington, as I've done from the last 3 years.
Zoran Mamdani came out and already endorsed Mr. Lander, as did Bernie Sanders. And you've had these conversations with Mr. Mamdani, and you came out pretty much and said that your issues that you had along the way were his support, his discussions around Israel and around the Jewish community. Have you made some ground there? Do you believe that he will be a mayor for all New Yorkers, or is that still a sticking point for you?
Look, he is the mayor. He won the election, and we're moving forward. I'm focused on moving forward as well alongside him because I agree with this affordability agenda, and that's what he ran on, and I know that's what he's focused on. And so I'm looking forward to addressing the high cost of housing, to addressing the structural inequality that is in our city right now that is making it so difficult for people to not only succeed, but even just to get by. And I'm proud to put my progressive record in Congress over the last 3 years up for the public to look at. And I'm eager to get some stuff done with the mayor-elect.
So ally, not an adversary, as was described.
I've always been an ally for making sure that we are helping people get access to the American dream. And that's part of the reason why I introduced the ROBINHOOD Act is we need to address the wealth inequality that has skyrocketed over the last 20 or 30 years and is not properly being treated by our tax policy and our policies in Washington. And so this has been a focus of mine since I got into Congress. I think people will certainly see that as we move forward in 2026. And I certainly will be an ally for any of the affordability agenda that Zoran has talked about.
I want to talk about something a little bit more broader because we have a little bit more time here. So, kind of broadly speaking as a whole, Congressman, how do you view the Democratic Party right now, right? Because there's this conversation happening about folks like you that are going to be challenged by somebody who describes himself as left and progressive or democratic socialist. And this is not going to just be a you-specific race, but a races around the country, right? With more progressives or democratic socialists saying we're going to challenge the status quo. So how do you view the Democratic Party as a whole?
Well, I've been very vocal and in opposing the way that the party has kind of caved to Republicans in Washington. Long before this recent shutdown, I was the only voice that really remained opposing the December budget agreement. In March, I was pushing for us to hold out because we have to stand up for the American people. And that is why I came here to Congress. That is what I've been doing in Congress. And I think my view of this is right now in this day and age when Donald Trump is using cruelty. That's really what it is all about for the Trump administration in attacking our most vulnerable community members, that we need to unify. We need to be better than this cruelty. That is not the values that this country was built on. That's not why I love this country. And what we need to do is unify as neighbors, as communities, as all across the country to make our country better than what it is right now.
How do you do it, though, when you have the Democrats kind of split to really progressive or to the left of center?
I don't think there's a lot of difference in fact, I think there's almost no difference in what our policy objectives are and what our goals are. I think some of the difference is how we get there and what the messaging is about that. And my view is that we get there by unifying together, everyone working together, lifting everyone up. Rising tides lifts all boats. And I think my view is let's build this together, and too often we're pitting one against another. And I think that is a way where we're going to run into problems. But if we are working together as a community, as a city, that we can accomplish a lot. And what I hope we do is have a much more positive view of politics, of our neighbors, whoever they may be. And if we are all in this together, we will accomplish a lot.
Okay. So you welcome folks to the race if they want to challenge you, just for the process.
It's the beauty of democracy, Dan.
All right, Congressman, I appreciate your time coming on a big day, staying true to the interview, and keep us posted on the ROBINHOOD Act, okay?
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. All right, everybody. And we are going to be back this week with Picks on Politics on Friday night. We got a big show for you on Friday night. We're talking to the new incoming City Council Speaker, Julie Menin, as well as the Hoboken Mayor-elect over in New Jersey, Emily Jabbour, who just won in a runoff election there. So big show on Friday night. But that'll do it for Picks on Politics today. I'll see you back here soon.